Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so thankful that you're watching this, and I'm happy that you joined me because we've got some big stuff to talk about today. um, three X class solar flares since Friday Mountain Time at 4 p.m. So it's a little bit. It's been. They were three in 24 hours, right? Friday night, two on Saturday, hit us, and they hit us hard. Um, Even though they were low X class flares, they were X1, X1.18, X1.143, and X.03. So they weren't huge, yet they felt huge, right? And right on the tail of one of those X flares was a M class flare that was really long, and then there was a long duration X flare. So what happens is when they stay longer, when they hold that frequency for a much longer time, it has a bigger effect on us. So, what I want to talk today to you today about is some of the bizarre and new symptoms that have been showing up. And I discovered this last night, and so I was so excited to do this video this morning. Pam Youngins, who I just love, she's just blossoming with all of this great resource, all these great resources and good information on solar flares, and what might be going on energetically, what's going on astrologically, what's going on galactically. So she has the same lens that I do, and I just love her perspectives. So I thought I would go through them, and you can go right over to her and read these as well. Her page on Facebook. However, I'm going to interpret them and tell you a little bit about my experience with it and some of the experiences of some of the people I've talked to. So we're going to expand on those a little bit. Okay. So, when we have a C class, it's tap, tap, nudge, nudge. Hey, something's going on. You need to pay attention. An M class is when tower moments happen, and tower moments are like big things change and shift. You lose a job, you decide you don't want to live in this house anymore, you decide that you're not going to do this friendship anymore. They're things that are just sort of falling off of us. When we have an X flare, our imagination opens up. So I have some tarot cards that I'm going to take you through. They have some images of what this looks like as well. Um, so when we have X class flares, we're going to spin a little bit. We're going to wobble. We're going to feel kind of floaty. And in the way that these symptoms were very succinct, I thought was just right on. Okay, so the first one is the stumble walk, where you're walking and then you sort of like fall off the stair, or your foot doesn't go in front of the other, it crisscrosses and you sort of stumble and you're like, I have no idea how that happened. I almost fell off a two-step porch because I lifted up my foot to put it down, and my body moved, and I didn't have the edge of the step to put my foot down, and I thought, oh my god, I almost fell off a 1.5 foot off the ground step. So the stumble walk. The other one that Pam calls it is the drunken sailor walk, where you're walking and then you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, I'm riding my bike. I have this great cruiser with all the baskets and the horn and everything on it. And I'm riding it into town for coffee, for exercise, for fresh air, for fun. Probably three times in the last 2 days, I'm riding along, and all of a sudden, the bike just goes off the sidewalk onto the grass, onto the edge, and I'm like, bump, 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 and then I'm back on. And I'm thinking, am I okay? What's going on? Another one is falling, that you're tripping or you're falling and falling on things that you hadn't really thought about, like the edge of a carpet that you see all the time, or a crack in the sidewalk, or just a little bit of a wobble, right? Um, huh. The next one is you fall asleep at unusual times. One person said that she fell asleep on the park bench in Pam's Facebook, and I thought, yesterday I didn't know that the X flares were going on. All I knew is that I was trying to read, and the pages just kept moving around. And finally, I just leaned back and put the book on my chest, and I think I slept for an hour and a half that way. And I woke up, uh, and and thought, how the heck did that happen? Right. So you fall asleep at unusual times in unusual places. Your body just like needs to collapse and go to sleep. Right. And you're sleeping lots, but you're still tired, right? You're having very odd dreams, vivid astral projection dreams where you're in other worlds, and when you try to wake up, you're pulling at it, and it's even harder to get back in to back into bed, and you're still in that dream, right? Ringing, not just ringing in the ears, but ringing and buzzing inside the head, right? So when these kinds of things happen, there's a part of us that goes into fear. Am I sick? Is something happening like to my body that I need to go see a doctor about? And I'm not saying don't, and I'm not giving medical advice at all. I'm saying give it a little bit of time, give it a half an hour, give it an hour. And do some research on some of these symptoms and think, okay, so I'm having symptoms. What does this mean? Because we don't really know what it means, right? We don't know what these mean. So I was curious because there were 81 comments in Pam's post last night. So I went through the comments and I found a bunch more. So I want to share them with you. Swollen joints, swollen fingers, toes, can't get rings off, like my feet hurt. And some of this I would assume is age. And at the same time, it's so much bigger than that. The one that got me was constant hunger, like this inability to find something that really tastes good, or when you eat, like I love crisp, oh, love crisp hard apples, and I'll eat that apple, and then I'm like, what else do I need? And I'm thinking, you just ate an apple. So overeating or seeking satiation, like I'm looking for a certain taste and nothing seems to satisfy me. Nothing I'm eating. And what I notice for me, unless it has a lot of salt on it, I'm still looking. So I'm craving salt. So I'm putting more unrefined salt in my water, right? Just to try to get more salt in my body. Skin irritations, things that are bubbling up, sunspots, things that just showed up, and then I'll start to treat them or look at them and go, "What is this?" And then a week later, they're gone, and they're bumping up, and there's rashes, and there's dryness, there's sores. Uh-huh. The other one is wired and tired. You're wide awake, like you've had 3 shots of espresso, and you're exhausted. So you're sort of wired and tired, and you can't really listen. You have achy teeth. One of the ones that I would add is that our skin doesn't feel good when there's textures on it. Certain fabrics that you've worn all the time, you can't wear anymore. I cannot stand to be around polyester, right? Activities, things that I do in clothes, they don't fit, they don't work. I've even lost weight, and clothes feel like they're uncomfortable, and they don't feel good on my body. One of the ones that has come up over and over and over again is hair loss. That something's going on with our hair. So, are we losing it? Are we thinning it? Is it our antennas? Because our hair is our antenna, right? Is getting stronger. Bloating and stomach cramps and digestion issues, but the bloating, it's almost like I haven't eaten anything all day, and I'm feeling mm, unattractive, bloated, like slothy, and don't know what to do. So this is sort of what's been going on. So it leads us to feeling like we're in a constant state of fatigue, that we have fears that we're dying, our body's sick, there's something going on, and we start to spin this, right? And what happens is we create these perceptions because our senses and our eyes and our smells and our touch are telling us something's going on. And then we hold on to these perceptions like, this is what's happening to me. This is what's happening to me. And we zoom in and we make them big. So because perception is how the mind takes in the senses, right? Our senses are picking up information, is how I found a way to define it. And I have 3 cards that represent this to me. So the first thing is, this is the Osho page of or Knight of Swords, or not Knight of Swords, Page of Swords, right? It's the princess. And so what happens is our head starts to freak out, and we're like, something's wrong. Oh no. And we start to just spin and spin and spin and spin and spin in our head. Now, if you take this concept and you add the Thoth deck with the princess, it's like things are happening. The ground underneath me is unsteady. I've got my sword out and I'm fighting against conditioning, against imprinting, against this invisible battle, right? So these two are going on in two different cards. Same exact card, princess, princess, page, page. Okay. So when I take these two and I go over to light seers, this is what I have. So she is in not giving the mental constructs as much value, and she's holding them and letting the ideas. So she's calming her system down. She's trusting. She's walking across what do I want to call it? A trench or a hole with a sword, and she's up on her tiptoes. She's reading a book. She's paying attention, but not paying attention. And in her hands are these ideas, these light bulbs of like, well, what is this? What could this be? So I guess we're really at a choice point as to what do we want, what approach do we want to take with all of these perceptions we're having of these solar flares, right? Because we're creating our own opinions and beliefs. And so if we give them way too much merit, this is what it can look like. If we feel like we're out of control, we're fighting the world, this is what it can look like. Or if we just go, wow, and that just happened. So what I'm going to invite you to do is go up a level into a perspective. Okay, so a perspective is when we engage our observer and we go big. Like, well, that happened. And I read about some of those symptoms and I'm seeing this. And we don't personalize it and we don't bring it in and say, this is what I believe is going on. We say, we start to hold it like, well, and then there's that. And then there's this. So we're holding many different views from different lookout spots from all over our life. So it's beyond our physical. It's beyond um, what we feel, what our body's telling us, and we take that in, yes, but we also hold a larger perspective because we're having these unusual physical symptoms, right? And many of us are around are having similar ones or very different ones, and none of it makes sense. So what we can do is we can start collecting data like, well, it looks like people are rocked and they're taking it on in different ways. That's a broader perspective. For me, this is what's happening. I wonder what's happening for you. And then we start to get curious about who's posting, who's talking, dinner conversations. What are you actually feeling? What are you experiencing, right? Because we don't want to make an assumption that this is what's going on. What we want to do is say, when the flares come, how do I have a broader perspective? How do I, 10 of swords, see them, notice them, but then keep looking for other things, right? How do I realize that I'm in a process of going from dense, stuck stuff through some really fearful stuff into this ability to be very lighthearted? And then I'm going to, talk about here with the queens, which is, both the Queen of Swords, which is I'm sitting up on top of the castle, I'm looking out, and I haven't formulated an opinion yet. I'm just simply gathering information and wondering what is going on. And of course, the Queen of Pentacles of Earth, which is I can feel it all and I'm not reacting to any of it. Because what we're doing is we're in the middle of some sort of global, right? Because the whole Earth is being impacted. We're changing, we're morphing, we're growing. And some of these old densities within us, some of these things that they just have to go, they just have to leave. So what we're doing is we're creating a really natural place to be and just going, wow, I just have to do life normal and hold a larger perspective that something's going on. And then what I love is the Seven of Wands and the Light Seers deck. I'm involved in all of it and in none of it. I'm sustaining myself, right? So I have 5 tips for you today. And before I go on with the tips, what I'd like to do is just again, thank you for watching, like and share and pass this around, because I'm sure that some of these invisible yet powerful waves of energy are something we can collaborate with, something we can share with others. Our bodies and our cellular structures are reacting, and we're at some choice points. And I'm always I love these 3, the way that they hold it together, which is we're at a choice point of how we're going to navigate through all of this, right? Okay, so tip number one, keep your observer wide open, right? And interested. It's easy to shut down and curl up on the couch and go to sleep and feel overwhelmed, but how do you stay open and trusting and let your observer just take in everything? So you stay awake, you stay aware, you keep adapting, you share it with others, and you share your observations, your perspectives, right? So number two, you nurture and protect your energy and your life force. Because if you're in this state, then you're not taking care of your body. Your body's all wrapped up like a mummy. It's like nailed shut. It's not thriving. And what we want to do is we want to look at what does it take to own this and thrive it, right? So how do you detox from some of these old habits of fear and getting stuff out of your body, whether it's physical diet detox, whether it's mental detox, emotional or spiritual detox, right? How do we keep water coming in and purifying and providing a liquid movement for our body to detox? How do we do really unique things like sound therapy? I do a lot of Tibetan bowl work with my friend Bill Kale, light therapy, sauna, light therapy, cranial sacral acupuncture. Pay attention to your supplements. Make sure that you're taking refined salt, magnesium, drinking teas that calm your system down. Because what you want to do is you want to be in this place at all times, because that means that you're adaptable and you're shifting and you're growing with it, right? Number three, share and collaborate with others. This is not to defend like, hey, I'm right about this from your perception, but from gathering information and data and saying, wow, what if it gets worse when we eat too much sugar? What if it gets worse when we have alcohol? What helps? What about microdosing with mushrooms or weed, or what helps? And then we start talking about all of these ways that we keep ourselves in this balanced state, yet very present in the physical world, right? I'm just going to hold these two for us, right? So when we do this together, what happens is we're collaborating and we're sharing. Okay. Number four, go big. Go big, go in, integrate, transmute, update, expand your DNA, use your amazing imagination, right? To just go like, hey, I'm in the phase of this planet that I've waited for lifetimes, for decades, for centuries, for millennia, right? And we're doing it. So how do I do it? How do I do it consciously? How do I do it with bravery? How do I do it with observation, right? Because we are in something that's going to be fun to work with, and we have to have our heart open, and we have to sort of use our sense of humor and realize that joy helps us through all of this, right? And then number five, have compassion plus allow joy to be present. So because we're on our own unique journey, and each of our bodies and each of our systems is reacting to our genetic DNA, our ancestral lineage, our habits and patterns that we have, our location, the relationships we're in, we're all doing it different. So I'm going to say, do it with compassion and do it lightly and do it with joy. So please put down your symptoms. Share symptoms on here. Let's put it in the comments. Let's get it going and share with me what you're seeing. Don't add the ones we already have unless you have something that you can stretch out with that. And I will see you next week. And who knows what'll be going on by then. Take care.